Yeah, I think this will work. Got the Tom Landau special here. If you know, you know. Spearing decoy. This thing is the bomb. Welcome to Voice in the Wild. My name's Jacob. Thanks for joining me today. Listen, I'm just a guy. Used to be a pastor. Used to be married. Used to believe a lot of things that were wrong. Was in a cult. Finally, that fell apart, and I realized that I had to deconstruct everything. And I went down a path of self-exploration that I would not recommend for anybody, but finally came to realize I had a lot of trauma. I had trauma from my childhood. I had trauma from being in a cult-like environment that was a religious structure. I had trauma from just long-term, what they would call complex trauma. The problem with trauma is it dominoes, it stacks. And if you don't heal the base trauma, you're just going to be a little trauma factory your whole life. And the reason I'm doing this podcast is I want to help people really understand. Because I realized that my trauma throughout most of my life stopped me from understanding. And when I started healing that trauma, the crazy thing was that I started understanding God more. I started understanding life more. I could understand complex ideas more. I felt like Rain Man at times, like I would just be having like all these connections because parts of my brain were being unlocked that had been locked up for 30 some years. And I'm doing this podcast because it's a dream I've always had. I've had this dream to do this since probably 2013 was when I first was like, I want to talk about the outdoors. I want to talk about mental health. I want to talk about religion. But I wasn't even ready to talk about it. I just had the dream. I felt like God put it in my heart. And he gave me the name of it, Voice in the Wild. And I tried doing something, but it didn't work. I didn't have the discipline. I was still way too unhealed. Unhealed trauma for me took what was a little bit of ADHD and turned it into complete chaos. And one thing the Lord has been teaching me is that he can actually heal some of these neurodivergencies. They weren't always called that. They used to be called neurodevelopmental disorders. Now, disorder gives the idea that there is something wrong. And so in modern times, because it is so hard to heal the root causes of this so that we can get free and begin to understand our real selves, how our brains actually work, it's impossible to do that with psychology alone, with therapy alone. You see, the thing that most therapy misses is the missing piece. That missing piece is the one who wrote the code, the one who designed you. And trauma has made your brain create an internal reality, a structure for interpreting the world. That if you have ADHD, it feels like chaos. Feels like you can't focus because you're constantly looking for external threats because of the trauma. If you have autism, it's different. You're constantly trying to maintain an internal reality by structuring your life and your thoughts in a way that will not be disturbed. That's why there's this cognitive rigidity in that type of neurodivergence. We all have cognitive rigidity. We all have parts of our brains that get stuck. But what trauma does is it gets us stuck, and unfortunately, therapy can't figure out a way to heal it. So instead of saying it's a disorder, we've started calling it just a brain type, a developmental type. And it kind of goes along with this unhealthy overemphasis on acceptance in our culture. If you look around, literally everybody today is saying, I have ADHD or I have autism. Trust me, that doesn't make sense. Please use your brain and think that through. The problem isn't that we just haven't understood this forever. It is good that we are understanding our brains deeper, and it will open the door for greater healing. But the problem is when we have these things holding us back intellectually, mentally, neuro, like neuropathically, we can't heal ourselves, and other people can't heal us. There's only one thing that actually heals that. And we're going to get into that in this podcast. And we're going to get into the complexity of that subject itself. Not only are we going to talk about religion, we're going to talk about deep theology, we're going to talk about language itself. Because what we don't realize is that when scripture, specifically for this moment, I'm talking about that. When scripture was written, it was written in alphanumerical languages. And those languages, every letter represents a number as well. So there's no Roman numerals, there's no 1 through 10, that kind of stuff. There's no numbers themselves, it's just letters. And these languages were so complex and had so much nuance to their meaning that when we converted it to English or even German or other really simplistic kind of uh, Anglo-Saxon or Scandinavian languages, we oversimplified the meaning of a beautiful, beautiful, nuanced text. And we're going to dive into that a little bit, but we're also going to talk about other ancient texts. We're going to talk about the contextual picture of historical spirituality. We're going to talk about things like Buddhism or Hinduism or other faiths. We're even going to talk about witchcraft or Wiccan or New Age or manifestation, because these things are all related. I'm not saying they're all good. I'm not saying they all come from God and that they all worship the same God. No, no, no. We got to break this stuff down because the historical story is huge. And when we understand that the reality we live in has been created by a lot of this stuff that has moved throughout history and morphed and presented itself differently in different times, you and I can start to experience real freedom and deprogramming. See, when you've been in a cult, you have to be deprogrammed because you have been so brainwashed. And many of us are walking around this world today. We're in political cults, we're in ideological cults, we are in religious cults, we are in cultural cults. That's an easy one. We won't hit on how that word is related to the other in this episode, but we will eventually. The problem isn't that you and I just disagree. The problem is that cults take advantage of your trauma, your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities, and they make you a weapon. They make you a pawn, and you don't even know it. There's an old quote that I love. The problem with deception is you don't know when you're deceived. Real deception, you can't break it with argument all the time. You can't break it with war. You can't break it with fighting. Real deception requires a partner that is beyond you and I. And we will get into that in coming episodes. Because the picture that you need to see that will actually set you free, like give you yourself back. And I say back because oftentimes you and I, we're just like, I need to become a better person. And if I'm with somebody and they're not growing and they're not becoming a better person, I can't be with them. You got to have a partner that matches your energy. It's very narcissistic language. But the reality is that we're not supposed to be becoming better. We're supposed to be becoming more of ourselves. Because the real you, the one that exists deep, deep, deep down, that is maybe clogged up, that's held back by brainwashing or trauma or just kind of living in survival mode, the real you has always been there and always will be there. So we're not trying to become a better you. We're trying to release the real you from within so that you have your voice back, so that you have your true identity back. Not just a little cute version that makes you feel good about yourself for a short period of time. And short period, in my opinion, doesn't mean what you probably think it means. Short period could be your entire life. You may feel better because of language that has been given to you. But feeling better is not the same as being whole. When you are whole, trust me, it's a whole nother level. It doesn't mean life gets easy. Doesn't mean you stop having problems in life, because people still exist and evil exists. But you can experience an inner reality that transcends this reality. It doesn't mean we are separate from it. It doesn't mean we evolve or elevate above into some state of like nirvana where we cease to exist. No, it means you exist more than you've ever existed before. It means you are so healed that when pain comes, you feel it and you hate that pain, but you are willing to go through it and feel discomfort and feel rejection and feel heartbreak. But on the other end of it, because you know you and you know the one who created you, you get through it and you are able to keep loving. You don't have to build false walls or boundaries or things to protect yourself anymore. Because you walk in wisdom, you walk in discernment, you walk in your reality, and your light shines. Like the old little song we used to sing when we were kids, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. The problem is most of us, that little light has been snuffed out. It's been hidden. It's not just the light of the love of God. It's the light of who you are through the love of God. So, Voice in the Wild was about me sharing my voice with you, sharing my humanity, my imperfection, my reality. And in turn, my goal, friends, is you find yours. Because we all matter. We all matter. We all have a voice that this world needs to hear. You have a personality that is meant to touch people around you and bless them and lift them out of darkness. You can be a real friend. And so understand, this isn't just about me, this is about you. And I want your comments. I want you to like and follow this page. I want you to interact. I want you to ask questions, because I will do my best to answer them. And I will do my best in coming months to bring guests on this podcast that will challenge your thoughts, that will challenge your sense of reality. And start to put some cracks in what I call the firewall of brainwashing. Because you and I, we are so much more than they tell us, than you've been told. So thanks for tuning in to this quick little intro video. Welcome to Voice in the Wild. If you like and follow me, thank you. I appreciate it. This is new. So if you step out and like and follow this thing before anybody else, mad respect. Have a great day. God bless.